Conflagration devours a high-rise building under construction in Hong Kong.
Authorities evacuate residents near the skyscraper. More details on this later in the news. Good evening. I am Ricky Mathay.
And I am Nina Richie Alago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines.
President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. vows to modernize transportation with new railway system. Department of Justice sets preliminary probe for 6 hazing suspects. UN ambassadors reiterate support for Ukraine. Russia claims Ukraine scatters deadly mines in residential areas.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. witnessed today the signing of agreement for the contract package NS01 of the North-South Commuter Railway System, or NSCRS. Eden Santos has the details.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. led the ceremonial signing of the contract package NS01 of the North-South Commuter Railway System, or NSCRS, in Malacanang. The move will serve as a go signal to start the electromechanical systems and track works for the CPNS-01, which include the Malolos-Clark Railway Project and the North-South Railway Project South Line, or the North-South Commuter Railway Extension Project.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. President.
As we sign this contract package, we do not only write a new chapter in realizing important infrastructure projects that will foster growth and revitalize the economy. With it, we also fulfill a promise to achieve our shared dreams and aspirations that will be the foundation of a more comfortable, a more dignified life for every Filipino. Beyond improving our transportation system, the implementation of civil works for the CPNS01 will also generate thousands of jobs for Filipinos during construction. Ladies and gentlemen, we recognize the fact that an efficient transportation system will have a multiplier effect on employment and on the economy.
The contract package includes the railway tracks, turnouts, track sleepers, power supply and distribution systems, as well as the signaling systems, automated fare collection, computerized management maintenance, platform screen doors, among others, to ensure safe railway and its operations. Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista says the project would minimize the less than 2 hours travel time from Clark International Airport to Calamba City, Laguna.
It will reduce travel time from Clark Airport to Calamba in Laguna to less than 2 hours. A total of 51 commuter train sets and 7 express train sets will operate along the line, and it can accommodate as many as 800,000 passengers per day.
The project would also provide job opportunities to more than 100,000 Filipinos. The Marcos administration partnered with Japan International Cooperation Agency, or JICA, and the Asian Development Bank, or ADB, for the project. Mr. Takema Sakamoto, Chief Representative of JICA, says the project is the product of President Marcos' state visit to Japan last February.
Today marks another important milestone for quality infrastructure development of the Philippines. I'm extremely honored to speak before you today in the presence of His Excellency the President at Malacanang Palace to witness this signing of the contract package NS01 for the electromechanical system and track works. As everyone knows, During the very successful presidential state visit to Japan in February, JICA and the Philippine government concluded the two loan agreements.
The president thanked the Department of Transportation, the Japanese government, JICA, and other stakeholders for spearheading the construction of the NSCRS, which he considers a milestone project. The NSCRS is a 147.26 kilometers railway project expected to be completed by 2029 and has the capacity to serve 800,000 commuters every day. The project has a total cost of 873.62 billion pesos.
I certainly commend the efforts of the men and women of the Department of Transportation for this major undertaking. Indeed, this service that you have shown in materializing our grand vision for our Philippines, it is ready to take on the future, is a very important part of the transformation of our economy. I certainly must thank the government of Japan and the Japan International Cooperation Agency for the financial support in the implementation of CPNS-01 and for being active partners in the country's infrastructure development. We are glad to have you with us as we continue to strengthen our relations built on mutual confidence and cooperation, a relationship that has gone on for many, many decades. And I can say without a fear of contradiction that the development of the Philippines, especially in terms of infrastructure, has shown that Japan has taken a very, very important part in that. JICA, of course, as the leading agency of the Japanese government, but certainly from the initiative of the Japanese government.
Eden Santos for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The group of Laban TNVS will support the week-long transport strike set by traditional jeepney groups next week. The group says the transport sector is not against jeepney modernization, but the government should consider some of its directives, including the consolidation of traditional jeepney franchise owners under a cooperative. Kim Liana has the details.
Despite the government's decision to extend until December 31, the franchises of traditional jeepneys and UV Express, there is no letting up to the week-long transport strike scheduled for next week. In an exclusive interview of Net25 News anchor Ricky Mathay, June De Leon, national president of Laban TNVS, says they will support the 6-day transport strike. Laban TNVS is part of the National Public Transport Coalition that includes Manibela and Piston, who are spearheading the massive transport holiday.
Ngayon, sa Monday, March 6, magpupunta ang mga ilang mga jeepney operators, drivers, magsisimula sa circle ng 7 a.m. Patungo po tayo sa LTFRB upang ipahayag at kausapin ang ang LTFRB sa mga hinaing ng mga drivers at operators.
De Leon clarifies that the transport sector is not against the Public Utility Vehicle or PUV modernization program of the government. However, De Leon appeals to the Department of Transportation or DOTR to reconsider its order for traditional jeepneys and UV Express to consolidate under a cooperative. The transport group leader says the DOTR should review if the process is beneficial and humane for traditional jeepney operators and drivers. De Leon adds that the public sector is not against modernization, but instead of pushing for the costly imported modernized jeepney, the government should give chance to the local manufacturers to create a modernized jeepney patterned with the jeepney's image and not costly.
Hindi tumututol sa modernization program. Kung totoo at makatao ang modernization program, huwag nilang ipilit yung napakamahal at napautang ng mga imported or galing China na modernized jeep. Dahil meron naman tayong ipinapakita at iminumungkahi sa ating pamahalaan. Meron tayong mga local manufacturers dito na gumagawa. In fact, ipinakita nga natin sa DOTR dati na meron na tayong nagawa, minodernize natin ang ating mga jeep, na preserve ang imahe ng mga jeepney, traditional jeepney. Napakaganda po, naka-aircon, merong TV, may CCTV. Yung standard na gusto nila, ginawa po natin at sa halagang kalahating milyon lamang ang gastos. Hindi po 2.5 to 2.8 million na katulad ng inilalako ng DOTR at ipinipilit nila sa modernization na to.
Monday's week-long transport strike will be participated by around 40 to 50,000 jeepney drivers and operators nationwide. It is expected to affect 1.2 million commuters all over the country. Kim Liana, for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Public transport will not be paralyzed despite a week-long holiday strike set to begin Monday. Jeepney operators and drivers of 7 major transport groups in Metro Manila say they will not participate in the strike. These transport organizations include Piston, Fedjodap, Acto, Pasang Mazda, LTAP, and Altodap. The Philippine National Police or PNP and the Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP assure there will be a full deployment of uniformed personnel to protect the non-participating groups from harassment. The Metro Manila Development Authority or MMDA will deploy vans and buses to provide free rides for stranded passengers. MMDA Chairman Romando Artes says the agency also plans to suspend the number coding scheme. Moreover, local government units or LGUs are also preparing for the possible effects of the transport strike.
The 2 consecutive price rollback on petroleum products has ended. This is according to the 4-day trade in the Mine of Plaza, Singapore, which will increase the price of oil products on March 7. In the estimation, the price of diesel will increase by 1 peso and 14 centavos per liter. The price of kerosene will increase by 1 peso and 20 centavos per liter, and gasoline by 5 centavos increase. The change in price of oil products could still change as the trading days are not yet over.
The Philippine government is outlining the guidelines for the conduct of maritime activities and joint patrols with the United States in the West Philippine Sea. Foreign Affairs spokesperson Maria Teresita Daza says the Philippines and the United States are currently discussing the operational details, including the possibility of coordinating with other countries within the framework of the Mutual Defense Board, or MDB, and the Security Engagement Board, or SEB. In this regard, the country is also coordinating with Australia for the launching of the joint maritime patrols in the West Philippine Sea following the visit last week of Australian Deputy Prime Minister and Defense Chief Richard Marles. The visit was to strengthen and deepen security relations between the two countries. In media interviews, Philippine Ambassador to the U.S., Jose Manuel Romualdez, confirmed that the country is in talks with Japan and Australia for possible joint patrols in the West Philippine Sea along with the United States. If the plan pushes through, this will be the first time the Philippines would participate in multilateral maritime patrols in the West Philippine Sea. However, the move is expected to get the ire from China, which claims a majority of the territories in the West Philippine Sea.
Authorities will conduct a forensic examination of the vehicle used in the hazing incident of Adamson University student John Matthew Salilig. The results may be used to strengthen the case against the perpetrators of the deadly hazing. Nadine Agila reports.
Police authorities will conduct a forensic examination in the SUV used to transport the remains of Adamson University student John Matthew Salilig following his deadly initiation rites. Police Colonel Glenn Silvio, Acting Provincial Director of the Laguna Police Provincial Office, says this is one of the major pieces of evidence they have in efforts to serve justice in the death of Salilig. He adds that the results of the forensic exam would strengthen charges against the people behind the hazing incident.
At kami naman po bilang law enforcer, kailangan pong mabilis natin ma-solve itong kaso na to. Kaya po dali-dali tayong kumuha ng search warrant upang mabigyan natin agad ng justice ng pamilya. At ito po ay isang crucial sa amin isang ebidensya po to na magpapatunay kung ma-forensic exam na po yung loob, kung may dugo pa, may DNA doon, may dugo ang victim, na magpuprove na yun talaga ang sinakyan. Kasi po kitang-kita sa CCTV Ayan po yung mga gamit ng grupo ng trimester.
The official also appeals to other people involved in Salilig's hazing case to come out, to clear their names and inform authorities of their participation in the case.
Kung kasama po sila doon sa sinasabi nating person of interest, I suggest na pwede naman silang pumunta rito at makipag-cooperate, sabihin kung ano yung role nila, kung willing silang magbigay ng statement at wala po silang tinatago. Baka naman po kasi yung iba dyan, during initiation rites, nasa labas lang. Wala naman siyang, hindi niya naman nakita, hindi siya nag-participate din. So mas maganda na yung clear yung konsensya mo.
Last Wednesday, police authorities raided the house of Aaron Cruz, one person of interest in the case. The raiding team saw the vehicle used to transport the body of Salilig. Authorities have also arrested the father of Aaron, Gregorio Cruz, due to obstruction of justice. Nadine Aguilar, for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The Department of Justice, or DOJ, has set a preliminary hearing on Friday, March 10, for 6 of the suspects in the hazing and death of Adamson University student John Matthew Salilig. Salilig's brother stands as the complainant in the charges against the members of the Tau Gamma Phi fraternity. Apart from the 6, authorities are expecting the surrender of 10 more persons of interest in the case. Meanwhile, some senators are proposing to conduct a probe on the matter in aid of legislation and are considering amending the anti-hazing law if needed.
The National Bureau of Investigation is probing another hazing case in Cebu City from the same fraternity linked to the death of John Matthew Salilig. Paulo Ramos has the details.
The National Bureau of Investigation, or NBI, has launched its own investigation on another hazing case that resulted in the death of a student in Cebu City. The case involves the Tau Gamma Phi fraternity. Justice Department spokesperson Attorney Miko Clavano says aside from the case of John Matthew Salilig, the NBI is also looking into the death of University of Cebu student Ronel Baguio last December 2022. He says Justice Secretary Crispin Remulla directed the NBI to conduct a parallel investigation of Salilig and the Baguio case.
Obviously, nakakuha po kami ng reports and requests for investigation. And right away, the Secretary asked for the NBI to conduct an investigation. Yung regional office po ng Cebu, ng Region 7, ang nag-take charge dito sa investigation sa Cebu.
The Baguio family had earlier sought the assistance of the Public Attorney's Office, or PAO, to handle the case. In the death certificate, Baguio suffered serious damage to his lungs and kidney. Meanwhile, the DOJ says it is willing to issue a legal opinion on how to strengthen the anti-hazing law.
Ever since, we've seen this law for 30 years, although meron pa rin nangyayaring mga ganitong klaseng senseless deaths. So I'm sure the Secretary will be very cooperative if ever they were to ask or request for opinions from the DOJ with regards to strengthening, hopefully, itong anti-hazing law natin.
Paulo Ramos for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The Department of Energy has assured there will be no power or rotational power outages in the country in time for the summer season. Energy Undersecretary Rowena Cristina Guevara says although there are thin reserves, the power supply is enough for the dry season. In January, the Energy Department says Luzon grid will be put on yellow alert on week 11 in March, weeks 13 and 17 in April, the whole month of May, weeks 22 and 23 in June, week 35 in September, week 42 in October, and weeks 47 in November. Guevara says the DOE is coordinating with the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, or NGCP, to ensure that no maintenance shutdown would take place in summer.
The Department of Health, or DOH, reports the country has logged 121 new cases of the Omicron subvariant. As per DOH's COVID-19 biosurveillance report, of the 122 samples subjected to sequencing, 60 are identified as BA2320, 33 cases are XBB, including 3 cases of XBB.1.5, 8 cases of XBC, and 20 cases of other Omicron sublineages. Of the new 60 BA.2.320 cases, 59 are local cases from Cagayan Valley, Central Luzon, Mimaropa, Davao Region, Socsargen, and the National Capital Region, while 1 is a returning overseas Filipino or ROF. BA.2.320 is the dominant Omicron subvariant in the country today. Of the 33 XBB cases, 1 is an ROF, while 32 are local cases from Central Luzon, Mimaropa, Davao Region, Socsargen, and Caraga. The new cases of XBC cases are local cases from Mimaropa, Davao Region, and Socsargen. Coming up, massive fire ravages a Hong Kong high-rise building under construction. Kiev resident slams Zelensky's failure to end the conflict. And Quad foreign ministers meeting wraps with a peace and anti-nuclear war proclamation. Mata ng Agila International will be back after a short break.
Tama na, may nanalo na. Uwi na. Cajun Seafood!
Welcome back to Mata ng Agila International. A massive blaze at a high-rise building under construction in Hong Kong has forced the evacuation of some nearby residential blocks. Officials relocate about 130 people to a safe distance amid fears the blaze would spread. No casualties are reported. The fire broke out shortly before midnight and continued to burn into the early hours of Thursday. Sparks rained down onto neighboring streets. Large pieces of debris littered the ground. 4 adjacent buildings caught fire, but firefighters quickly put out the flames. The building is located in the heart of a busy shopping and tourist district on the city's harbor front. When completed, it would tower 42 stories above the city. An hour after the fire had been reported, the flames had spread down the length of the building and approached street level.
Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov addressed the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva to a half-empty UN disarmament conference room. Delegates from the United States, Poland, France, and Romania were notably absent. Standing outside the conference room were UN ambassadors from the U.S. and Ukraine. They were among several to voice support for Ukraine. They refused to enter the room for the duration of Ryabkov's speech. In his speech, he said that drone attacks, which Kyiv is alleged to have carried out on Russian military bases, would only have been possible with U.S. assistance.
The European Union's first anti-fraud prosecutor, Laura Kövesi, says her office is ready to help investigate criminals circumventing EU sanctions imposed on Russia. Kövesi says the working arrangement with the Ukrainian General Prosecutor's Office has been signed. She says there is a fraud everywhere in Europe.
The fact that in some member states we have 0 cases reported to the PPO, this doesn't mean that those member states are clean. In my view, there are no clean member states. There is fraud everywhere in Europe. The problem is how much they want to detect them, how much they want to send the cases to the PPO, and how much they really want to fight with this phenomenon.
Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban asserts Europe needs its own military bloc free of American influence. Orban also accuses the U.S. of dragging Europe into a conflict that cannot be won. He says Washington is risking a global war and the solution is a new European NATO. He also believes that EU is serving the interests of the United States. He argues that America's desire for further expansion of its influence is what led to the current tensions between the West and Russia. Orban says Russian President Vladimir Putin is concerned with the American missile bases in Poland and Romania. He also cites Putin's concerns on a possible NATO expansion in Ukraine and Georgia. However, he points out that he does not accept Putin's actions towards Kyiv.
The battle in the Kharkiv region of Ukraine continues. Yet, sources say Kyiv forces from the 92nd Brigade are almost out of ammunition and tanks. While they wait for new tanks and bullets, they try to fix their T-62 tanks. Kyiv soldiers claim their fresh supplies of weaponry will double the fear of Russia. They say the new tanks will be a game changer on the battlefield.
A Kyiv resident criticizes Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's failure to stop the conflict with Russia. He admits that he voted for Zelensky, but during his entire reign in Ukraine, the Kyiv leader did nothing to fulfill his promise.
В колени падаем. Хозяин приехал. Я украинец, но я адекватно смотрю на все, что происходит в мире. По крайней мере, в моей стране. И у меня есть ребенок. И я не хочу, чтобы ребенок пошел воевать туда.
He also slams the recent visit to Kyiv by U.S. President Joe Biden. He calls Biden as Zelensky's owner.
Russian forces claim Ukraine is using banned landmines in Kyiv residential areas. RT correspondent Roman Kosarev files the report.
Several districts here in Donetsk have been under fire by the Ukrainian military in the last 48 hours. As a result, several people were wounded. All of them have been taken to these hospitals. But apart from shelling residential areas, Ukraine are also planting so-called petal mines, mines that are designed to maim a person for life. These people are also in this hospital right now. We'll talk to the head doctor who will tell us about them.
Since last summer, we've been actively receiving the victims of petal mines, 2 or 3 people a day. We worked with the media, informed the public that the injury from such a mine is very severe and immediately leads to a handicap. It's almost impossible to save the foot and the lower part of the leg. Unfortunately, many of our civilians, including children, have suffered from this insidious mine. Children are stepping on them, some even pick them up. By raising awareness, we managed to reduce the number of such cases, but they still exist, 1 or 2 a week.
93 people have become victims of the so-called petal or butterfly mine since the start of the special military operation. Of those 93 people, 8 were children. One of the latest victims, he is in this dorm right now. His name is Nazar. I will talk to him and he'll tell me the story of how it happened.
When I was returning from the store, I met some friends and stopped to talk to them. There were other people walking there on the roadside. When I got into the car, I stepped on a petal mine. It wasn't visible. All the grass in the area was trampled.
Есть какие-нибудь мечты, что когда вот война закончится, чем ты будешь заниматься, или об этом вообще думается?
I want to take up sports, if I can.
He stepped on a mine on the side of the road. There is grass next to it. So many people had walked past, but he was unlucky. The doctors saved his leg as much as they could. You can see for yourself what condition the leg is in. The fingers are all intact, but we still need to see how they will move and function. We are constantly under fire. When I was on my way to the hospital now, there was heavy shelling. A shell recently fell into the courtyard. All the windows were blown out. Everything is in a white fog. It's dark. On the right side of the house, the corner was completely destroyed. It's very scary.
Almost 4,500 people have been killed here in Donbass by Ukrainian artillery since the start of the special military operation. 132 of those victims were children. Right now, as I speak, the shelling of residential civilian areas here in Donetsk continue. And as the day progresses, we might hear of more victims. Roman Kosarev, RT Donetsk Republic.
A day after the G20 foreign ministers meeting in New Delhi, the city hosted a meeting of the Quad of foreign ministers on Friday. Leaders are expected to focus on the Indo-Pacific amid the increasing assertiveness of China in the region. External Affairs Minister S. Jai Shankar says the bloc stands for just and lasting peace in Ukraine. He says the Quad is against the use of nuclear weapons. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Japanese Foreign Minister Yoshimasa Hayashi, and Australia's Penny Wong also attended the summit.
National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby says the United States has no indication that China has decided to supply arms to Russia. Yet he insists the possibility of Beijing arming Moscow remains on the table.
But I don't want to get ahead of where we are here. We haven't seen the Chinese make this decision. We don't think they've taken it off the table, but we haven't seen them make a decision to go forward. We've communicated privately, certainly publicly, our concerns about that. We believe it would, it's not in China's best interest to move forward in that regard, and they should see it the same way.
U.S. officials have launched a broad diplomatic offensive to warn China against providing lethal assistance to Russia. Xi Jinping's government has consistently denied the allegations that they will supply weapons to Russia. War experts say the move will have a profound impact on the war in Ukraine as it enters its second year.
The man responsible for the assassination of U.S. Senator Robert F. Kennedy has been denied parole for the 16th time. A California review board denied the parole request of Palestinian refugee Sirhan, stating he was not suitable for release. The ruling marks a notable change from the conclusion of a different panel that Sirhan should receive parole. The 75-year-old has spent a half century behind bars. Sirhan was convicted of the assassination of presidential candidate Kennedy on June 5, 1968, minutes after he gave a victory speech for the California Democratic primary. His older brother, President John F. Kennedy, was assassinated just 5 years earlier in 1963. Up next, King Charles III struggles to land performers for his coronation. Losers in Nigeria's presidential election will challenge results in court. And Japanese Prime Minister worries of a population crisis as births plummet. Stay tuned. Mata ng Agila International will return with more global news.
Dami ng problema, parang ang hirap ng huminga, di ba? Minsan pakiramdam mo, hopeless na. Kaya dapat ihayag ang saloobin, himayin ang hinaing, alamin ang pwedeng gawin. Mag-reality check tayo.
Panalo tayo pag together, walang talo pag together. Let's let together sa Net 25.
Mga ka-netizens, ako po si Tito Soto sa programang Reality Check. For more live and updates, please don't forget to like and subscribe to Net25 TV.
Let's let together sa Net 25.
Charles III is struggling to land performers for his coronation. Buckingham Palace sent out invitations, but not many artists are confirming. Our UK correspondent, Love Ann Season, tells us more.
Buckingham Palace is busy preparing for King Charles III's coronation on May 6th at Westminster Abbey in London. Royal sources say the king will be crowned alongside Camilla, the Queen Consort. Yet the palace struggles to book British entertainers for the historic event. Grammy Award winners Elton John, Harry Styles, and Ed Sheeran refused invitations to perform. The A-list singer cited unavailability due to tours and unspecified reasons. Excitement emerged of a Spice Girls reunion for the royal coronation, yet the performers cannot perform due to the lack of rehearsal time. Meanwhile, a Westminster Abbey conservator confirms they are restoring a 700-year-old chair to be used for the coronation. An unusual bed in the Palace of Westminster could also see its first royal sleepover if a British tradition sees a revival. However, some royal experts fear Prince Harry and Meghan's absence would cast a shadow over the King Charles coronation. Up to this date, there are no clear reports if the Sussexes will receive an invitation. Earlier this week, King Charles evicted Prince Harry and Meghan from their UK residence. Love Ann Season for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Nigeria's presidential election is headed for a court challenge. Third-party candidate Peter Obi claims he won the election and he will prove it. Second-place finisher opposition leader Atiku Abubakar is also calling for election fraud.
The weekend election was neither free nor fair. Preliminary assessments indicate that it is the worst conducted election since the return to democratic rule. The manipulation and fraud that attended this election was unprecedented in the history of our nation.
President-elect Bola Tinubu faces huge security and economic challenges as he prepares to govern Africa's most populous country.
Papua New Guinea celebrates the life and service of the late Michael Somare. Somare was Papua New Guinea's first prime minister. He played a major role in leading the country to independence from Australia. Eco Hortaleza Quinola tells us more about the celebration.
Papua New Guinea's Grand Chief Michael Thomas Somare's life and service was commemorated at the Sir Hubert Curry Stadium. Prime Minister Honorable James Marape and other ministers, leaders, diplomatic corps, and the Somare family remember Somare as the founding father of Papua New Guinea and leader of its independence. They commend Somare as Papua New Guinea's man of peace. Recollecting his contributions and legacy drives the nation to rise and move forward.
I believe it will be the solution and salvation for our country if we continue to rise above our small differences and deliver the dreams of unity. We respect and support each other as fellow human beings of one nation, of one future. Papua New Guinea is in our beloved country. Let's keep his memory alive.
Prime Minister James Marape reiterates Somare's message: respect the rule of law. It is the #1 duty of all Papua New Guineans.
Respecting the rule of law is the #1 call of duty for all of us. That was the law Somare crafted in 1970s leading up to independence. That is the law, the Constitution, and all its enabling legislations and offshoots that has guided us thus far. If you love Somare, and if you love your country, I want to close by asking you, fulfill that love by keeping the laws of this country that Somare drafted up and passed in 1974 and into the law that kept us from 1975, September 16, up till today. May God bless each and every one of you. May God bless our country. And for all of us, may we honor him by respecting the country that he bettered and by respecting the laws of our country that he crafted and passed. Thank you very much.
Eco Hortaleza Quinola, Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Jailed former Prime Minister Najib Razak was acquitted of an audit tampering charge but will continue to serve his 12-year prison term from another case. The High Court says state prosecutors failed to provide sufficient evidence to prove their case on the scandal-racked state fund called One Malaysia Development Berhad, or 1MDB. Najib was brought to court Friday from Kajang Prison, where he is currently serving a 12-year jail sentence for corruption linked to the plunder of 1MDB funds. His acquittal from the tampering charge does not affect his current jail sentence. Friday's court ruling eased the pressure on Najib, but the former leader still faces dozens more charges, which could lengthen his stay in prison. Most of the charges are related to his alleged role in the 1MDB financial scandal for the use of their financial systems to launder the looted money.
Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida says his country is on the verge of failure to function as a society as births decline. Reports show Japan has a population of over 125 million. The country's health ministry reports that births fell to 799,728 in 2022 from 1.5 million in 1982. Authorities struggle to overturn the drop as they face an increase in the elderly population. Tokyo fears a workforce shrinkage to fund the welfare needed by the aged. Meanwhile, a Jefferies study ranks Japan as the world's most expensive place to raise a child in 2022. Kishida addresses the concern by establishing a new government agency focusing on child-related programs.
Iranian authorities have arrested 4 people Thursday following the assault of a woman outside of a girls' school in Tehran. The school had been targeted in a wave of poisoning attacks. The video you see here has been posted on social media. It shows a man attacking the woman from behind and pulling her hair. Tehran's police force has been quick to distance itself from the incident. It released a statement saying its members had no role in it. Military prosecutors have opened an investigation into the attack. On Wednesday, at least 10 girls' schools were targeted with poisoning attacks. Meanwhile, in the U.S., the FBI has arrested a man who allegedly attempted to bring an explosive device onto an airplane in Pennsylvania. The bomb was discovered after Mark Muffley's checked bags set off an alarm at Lehigh Valley International Airport in the city of Allentown. Transportation Security Administration personnel say that a section of the airport was evacuated as a precaution. TSA spokesperson Liza Farbstein said on Twitter that the FBI and local law enforcement bomb technicians determined it was a live explosive device. The explosive was a round package of powder-like substance wrapped in plastic wrap with a fuse attached and hidden inside a bag's lining. The suspect left the airport after being called to the security desk and was later arrested at his home.
The United Nations is urging bold action to protect habitats and end fossil fuel pollution in commemoration of World Wildlife Day. In New York, Joanne Soriano reports.
March 3 is World Wildlife Day. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres underscores the responsibility to protect the magnificent diversity of life on the planet. At the same time, he recognizes what he says is people's abject failure. Guterres says human activities lay waste to once thriving forests, jungles, farmland, oceans, rivers, seas, and lakes. The UN chief warns that 1 million species teeter on the brink of extinction due to habitat destruction, fossil fuel pollution, and the worsening climate crisis. He says the war on nature must end. He mentions that people have the tools, the knowledge, and the solutions to end this war. Guterres says this year marks the 50th anniversary of the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, which has helped protect thousands of plants and animals. This year's theme is Partnerships for Wildlife Conservation. Guterres stresses the need to work across governments, civil society, and the private sector to turn commitments into action. He says there needs to be much bolder actions now to cut emissions, accelerate renewables, and build climate resilience. The UN chief calls to place the voices of local communities and indigenous people front and center. Guterres says local communities and indigenous people are the world's most effective guardians of biodiversity. In New York, Joanne Soriano for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
And coming right up, investment group Morgan Stanley says U.S. stocks could sink by 26%. Scientists want to make AI out of real human brain cells. And Reality Check with Tito Soto is Net25's newest program. Catch more news when Mata ng Agila International returns.
Mga ka-netizens, ako po si Yo Andrada ng Anong Meron Kay Abok at Quezon City. For more live and updates, please don't forget to like and subscribe and comment sa Net25 TV.
Let's get together sa Net25.
Bilang buena manong handog, yung host po muna ang i-reality check natin. Ang dalawa nating guests ang mag-hot seat sa akin.
Oy, congrats to.
Thank you.
Bago mong show, bago mong bahay.
Malayo na rin ang narating natin tatlo.
Oy, nakarating tayo na 25.
Ako po ang magiging katuwang ninyo para mas maunawaan ang pinagdadaanan ng ating bayan.
Bantay ka ng bayan.
Gano'n na nga.
Ayun na nga eh. Napakaraming magagandang batas. Ang problema, yung pagpapatupad.
Execution.
Bantayan mo rin to.
Bakit? Ano ka daw ako? Kailangan i-check natin yung reality, kung sino ka talaga. Yun ang importante sa pilot show na to.
Tingin ang real talk ng bayan. Panalo tayo pag together, walang talo pag together. Let's get together sa Net25.
Morgan Stanley's Mike Wilson warns that the U.S. stock market has entered the death zone. Wilson states U.S. stocks have soared to an unsustainable high, yet investors are behaving similarly to climbers who blindly push toward the top of Mount Everest without properly considering the risks. The metaphor represents the excessive levels that stock prices have climbed since the start of this year. The benchmark S&P 500 index is up 6% year-to-date, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite has jumped 13% over the same period. Investors have scooped up stocks as they expect the Federal Reserve will start cutting interest rates by the end of the year. Wilson has repeatedly warned that the market rally will not last. That's more pessimistic than most of Wall Street. Some top market voices have voiced support for a no-landing outlook. Compared to a hard or soft landing in the no-landing scenario, the Fed is able to bring inflation down to 2% without having any real negative impact on the economy.
Scientists now hope of building biocomputers out of the same materials that power the human brain. A community of scientists from Johns Hopkins University call the development as organoid intelligence. It will launch a new era of fast, powerful, and efficient biocomputing. Their work would look at brain organoids to power computers, sharing important aspects, functions, and patterns of the brain, including cells that are used for things like learning and memory. A host of work is required before the biocomputers could be practical for actual use. Current brain organoids have about 50,000 cells, but scientists scientists would need 10 million of them for organic intelligence. Researchers note that producing brains that are able to learn, remember, and even understand could bring ethical challenges. As the research evolves, part of their vision is to develop an ethical and socially responsible manner. They have also partnered with ethicists to establish an embedded ethics approach.
With NASCAR season barely off the starting line, the Cup Series shifts to California. Here, a win by professional driver Kyle Busch did not only make or secure a consecutive season victory title, but also claims the final checkered flag on a historic racetrack scheduled for a major overhaul. In Fontana, California, Alan Basalaje has this report.
NASCAR returns to the West Coast for its annual race at the Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California. At 200 laps on this 2-mile oval track, it's number 8 Kyle Busch who claims victory at this Cup Series contest.
This race had spin-outs and crashes, but it also had intervals of just uninterrupted racing. During those stretches, was it like an eerie feeling, thinking that maybe another restart was going to happen, or are you just locked in the zone?
Yeah, I mean, there was a moment there when I ran Ross Chastain down the first time, and I got to his bumper, and I was trying to make a move to get by him, and I just couldn't figure it out. And then my car just flipped a switch and went super loose. So I had about crashed a few times, and I was just hanging on at the end of that stage. And then we were able to make some more adjustments to it to get it better on the long run. And then from there, we battled again with Ross all the way up until we pitted there for the final time. And our guys executed a really good job on pit road and got me out front, and then I was able to drive away. It's maybe not fun for the fans to watch when it gets a little bit spread out, but it's just fun for the drivers to really zone in and get to work and find different grooves and different things that'll work for you, work for your car in order to make the most out of it.
Outside of race results was the topic of reconstructing and reducing the Auto Club Speedway track by 75%.
I'm sad it's not going to be the 2-mile track anymore. I think it could be good at a short track. I hope NASCAR can change their package a little bit.
To make the track shorter, I think it'll be something more interesting to see how it plays out and how the drivers will be accustomed to it.
This 2-mile track's always been one of my favorite tracks to watch on TV, and so it's been really cool to be able to be here for this last one. Best part about watching a race in person is you get to experience the sounds, the roar of the engines, the smell of the tires.
The burn of the tires, the engines roaring 210 miles per hour, hearing them start their engines, going off and speeding up to a higher velocity. But overall, it's something that's really exciting, and it just gives you the chills.
Where we're from, there's not a lot of race fans, so it's cool to see other people who really like NASCAR and see other people who really like our favorite drivers and meet people, and there's just a lot of cool things to see.
Opinions are split about the Auto Club Speedway's future change to a half-mile track, but one thing fans seem to agree on is that this race had plenty of that good old NASCAR action. Reporting from Fontana, California, Alan Basalaje for Matana Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
With so many sources of information, many people are confused about what's true and what's false. It is important to remain informed about local and national issues, but it is equally important to receive accurate information. Net25 continues to produce programs that provide clear, realistic perspectives on a variety of issues. One of them is Reality Check, led by former Senate President Tito Soto. Nadine Aguilar tells us more.
Reality Check with Tito Soto is Net25's newest program. The show deals with a wide range of topics, including politics, economics, social issues, and culture. Through in-depth interviews, expert evaluations, and on-the-ground reports, Reality Check provides viewers with a comprehensive understanding of the issues affecting their lives. The show also features interviews with politicians and economic leaders working to bring about a change in their areas. One of the most interesting aspects of Reality Check is Soto's 3 takeaway points before the show ends. His goal is to inspire viewers to unite and find solutions and make a real change. In the first episode, Tito Soto will be joined by his friend Joey De Leon and his brother Vic Soto to discuss the reality that people are facing nowadays. So, let's watch them together this Saturday. The chairperson of the Movie and Television Review and Classification Board or MTRCB, Lala Soto Antonio, extend her congratulations to her father for his new program.
Excited ako for him kasi may nagpakita sa akin nung format, nung set niya, and I'm so excited and I'm very thankful because I feel bagay na bagay ito para sa kanya because talagang public service ang puso ng aking ama. And then my message for my father is, I will always and forever be thankful and proud to be your daughter. I love you very much.
Reality Check will air on March 4 at 9 p.m. on Net 25. Nadine Aguilar for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
And time to unwind for the weekend with a movie or a show. Stephanie Mayo has some recommendations. Take a look.
Planning to hit the theaters or just binge watch this weekend? Whatever you decide, here are the top picks for your entertainment fix. Creed 3, the third installment in the Creed series and the overall 9th installment in the Rocky film franchise. Michael B. Jordan reprises his role as the heavyweight boxing world champion Donnie Creed in this acclaimed sports drama. Here, the successful Donnie Creed faces off with a former childhood friend who just got out of a long prison sentence. The threat is real for Donnie as his rival has got nothing to lose. It's currently showing in Philippine theaters. Shrinking. Mental health continues to be a relevant topic, which makes Shrinking a recommended comedy to binge watch for a wider understanding of the sensitive topic while still getting a lot of laughs. It tells the story of a therapist, played by Jason Segel, who is grieving from the death of his wife. Desperate to cope with his loss, he begins to break the rules by telling his patients his real thoughts. Stream it on Apple TV+. Stephanie Mayo for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
And to help you start the weekend, here's a quote from Paulo Coelho, a Brazilian lyricist and novelist. If you are brave enough to say goodbye, life will reward you with a new hello.
Just as this week is about to end in a few days, a new week will say hello.
I have to stop myself from singing. One goodbye. What do you call it? Okay. Never mind, because that's a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. Have a great weekend, everyone. I am Ricky Mathay.
And I'm Nina Richie Alago Flores saying happy weekend and do take care of yourselves. This is Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.